What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of a RambleCast where entirely too many tangents and entirely too much length goes by, but for some reason you watch it, and I appreciate that. Or at least put it on the background and listen to it while doing stuff. So I am once again joined by...
Matt the Vet.
Yes, from Fearless Games.
It's still around, I promise.
We're still a thing. We're just biding our time. And we're back. We're back because there's some things, specifically two legions, lost legions, and the Primarchs specifically. Because
why don't we go find them?
Because you'll never find them. GW won't let us. But what's the deal with these lost legions? Because
they're neither lost or legions.
Yeah, because when you look at the current roster of the Space Marine Legions, you could pick out a few that make you go, what did the 2nd and 11th have to do to be expunged from the records if we have these guys?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Night Lords and the World Eaters, for example.
Yes, so, to put that in perspective, everybody, they are totally fine with the Sons of Horus and the Emperor's Children and the Death Guard being on record as existing.
Yes. Well, what specifically would the Primarchs have to do? Because the 2nd and 11th Legions were fine as legions. It was post-discovery of Primarchs that eventually caused this.
Yep.
So what in the
Holy Terra?
Yeah, what in the physical realm did they have to do to have not only a potential purgation happen upon them, but also to have every statue, artwork, name scribbling, the Edict of Obliteration, the most successful Edict of Obliteration in the fluff, mind you, as if they never existed at all, to the point where even the Emperor, when discovering the other Primarchs that they post their purgation, doesn't reference them, to the point where, because Corax was found after the two Primarchs were the two Lost Legions were Lost Legions. Mm-hmm. And he tells Corax, the 18, and he's like, 18, but I'm number 19. And the Emperor's like, oh, shoot, you know that. Well, you see, we had a problem with two of your brothers. But, so...
And not only that, they've been retconned not retconned as in game-wise, but in the universe, they've been retconned so hard, the Blood Ravens are trying to figure out how they could do it so well.
Yeah, it's
the Blood Ravens should learn how to keep a secret on who their Primarch is from these guys.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. So there is the cold hard truth about the Lost Legion is we're never gonna find anything out, because GW
intentionally did it,
and intentionally left them open ended to B. You can make up what you want if you want to make up your own legion, fine, yep. Which is cool. But also at this juncture, they can't do them service. No matter what they did, it would disappoint the fandom, because people have made. There's some pretty heavily established fan-made legions for the 2nd and the 11th that you just couldn't. It's like when the Star Phantoms finally got an official color scheme in the Badab War book, and it was white, and the fan accepted was like gray with a blue, and it was like, oh man. Yeah, only that amped up to like 11 or 2, because those are the two Lost Legion numbers. But but a few things are for sure, that whether are for sure until they decide to retcon what we can say we know. The first is they didn't stage a coup against the Emperor. That was the heresy was a shock, and yep. You just by that knowledge, if you apply some type of storytelling common sense, and then when it comes to telling a story, you wouldn't have them cursing this sudden but totally not inevitable betrayal.
They also made a point of noting that what was happening was unheard of.
Yes, every time, when the heresy commenced in earnest, this was an unheard of thing.
And I don't think any of the Primarch, every single loyalist Primarch was like, what? what?
Yeah,
Like
it was
no one was
confusing.
like again.
You know, it caught everybody off guard that was still loyal because they didn't plan it to happen, obviously, and they
Yes.
had no idea who to trust. So like, there was a big chaotic turn of events there, and and you might be saying, well, wasn't the Space Wolf sick on one of the Lost Legions? Maybe. The way
It's
current fluff is now, they're probably referencing when they fought the World Eaters for a night,
well,
but
it's
you
it
never
comes
know.
off the tails of in the Fulgrim Primarch book, in that new Primarch series that they're doing. Fulgrim makes a statement that basically, if you think about it just on face value, it sounds like he's heavily implying that one of the legions was executed, and because of what he says, some people start going, well, the Space Wolves are known as the Emperor's Executioner. Was what Fulgrim was talking about, was he in referencing something the Space Wolves had to do to one of the Lost Legions?
Right. It's
Um,
just the way in which one of the problems, by the way, in
is they make
the
the Space Wolves do everything?
well, no, not even Space Wolf related.
I'm just kidding.
One of the Black Library problems with expanding the heresy to the huge amount of books that it's at now, right,
Mhm.
is that they interject things that didn't exist at all. Interesting
Yep.
stories. I'm saying they're not, but they have to fit the rails.
Yep.
They like
Like a good example, prime example is sorry, I'm snacking. In Dan Abnett's book Prospero Burns, it would have made more logical sense for them to cram in for people to start thinking this if Russ never like the way Russ is talking to the what he thinks is Agent of Magnus, it's like he's never done what he's doing before.
yeah, or obviously is, or at best you could say is conveying that he doesn't like that he has to do this,
Yeah.
or that he's done this ever. But
Yeah.
like, the other one is the Night of the Wolf. The Night of the Wolf is a much more is a very recent fluff and
Night of the
development.
Wolf. I haven't
Yeah,
heard of that one.
it's something that came about in the later Horus Heresy novels and stuff, and it's interesting fluff. The problem is this came about talking about a time period during the Great Crusade when everybody was still loyal, right? So we're in the heresy in the thick of it, but yet now we have this thing from way back. So it has to fit in the rails of the Great Crusade. And basically, when the Emperor finally said, enough, Angron's got to stop the butcher's nails. This is ridiculous. He just slaughtered a whole world overnight. So he sicks the
Oh,
Space
that's
Wolves.
the event.
Yeah, that's
that you're
Night of the
talking
Wolf.
about.
Yeah, so the Space Wolves go over and leave on Russ carrying the judgment of the Emperor to stop doing what he's doing. Angron says, nah. And
Yes.
and then
And
we
that's
don't-
the
that's
universal story of I won, no I won.
Yeah, and the thing is, but they left it ambiguous on how it started, but they came to blows. Now, it should be stated that the thing that should be stated is the Space Wolves was a fresh Legion force with a fresh Primarch, and they just confronted the World Eaters post campaign. Angron's got some blood on him, his and others, and they're all bloodied and battered, and basically done with. It's like just a football game concluding, and then they have to go play another game, right?
Yeah.
And the battle was close, and there was a no determinate victor. So I would say the Space Wolves got off lucky, because if Angron and his Legion was fresh, it would have been a whole different story. But
Probably. Especially when it has been established that one of the reasons why they got to Angron was because he was one of the only two they were worried about dealing with Horus.
yeah, it's like when Angron's got the fluff of ain't nobody wants to fight Angron.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big thing, and this is where Angron broke his one big axe, and then he started wielding two axes after this. He broke it and everything, and both sides had. But the thing that the important takeaway was they were both still loyal to the Emperor, and there was shame on both sides for what had happened.
Yes.
Because Angron, as much as people like to make him be a big, consider him a big, blundering, dumb berserker, he's actually got a good code of honor, and he's actually really intelligent.
Yeah.
He's just Angron. He's Angron the angriest for several reasons.
That's more a problem of I find his biggest problem was he was given a character trait before he was given a character.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's my point. So this whole Night of the Wolf thing. Had to stay on the rails, meaning Leman Russ has to stay alive, Angron has to stay alive. Neither can be critically wounded or mauled. Both legions are still around for a good time after this, and they continue. And yet we still need to show the Butcher's Nails and Angron's legion devolving into berserkerness because of it. And the end result, he continued with the Butcher's Nails project. So the story was a complete waste, in my opinion. The addition of because the project continued and there was no other repercussions for the Legion. It's like you just sicked the Space Wolves on them. They had a big fight. Everybody got bloodied, and then they're still doing it. So it's like,
I think honestly, like I agree. What did the story do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I think that was supposed to also feed into the theory that Russ may have been involved with one of the legions disappearing because, well, he did it with Angron, he did it with Magnus. Who's to not say he did with another Primarch, and he was successful, and that's why they keep sending him out.
Well, right, but my point is,
it's like
because of the story, this is what some of the older stuff referencing. It's like because Russ or one of Space Wolves says, this is what's unheard of. Brother fighting brother. That's not unheard of. Yeah. It was originally people going, oh snap, one of the Lost Legions, but once that story came out as an early Great Crusade thing with Aragorn around, because they never liked each other from the get-go, then it became a reference to that, because that's a confirmed story at this point. So it's a weird case where old fluff referencing the new fluff, which is weird, because it's like almost like a weird time loop of fluff. So maybe one of the Lost Legion was eventually purged, or quote-unquote purged, because we're going to travel down the rabbit hole here, hence this RambleCast. But my point is, whatever that might have been for, it wasn't for chaos corruption, which was unheard of. One of the big failings of the Emperor was not teaching, several legions that maybe should have known at the very least about chaos corruption. But
though that's also another whole can of worms with Magnus and all that jazz. But that's another cast,
right? But it's just like that. Like anyway, so
he's not father material.
No. So the whole chaos corruption demon thing caught everybody off guard. In fact, what a good case of this is when the Lion has his flagship attacked by the Keeper of Secrets and a demonic incursion happening, and he had to learn on the fly.
He was like, what the hell? Yes. Yes, and of course things happen that everyone still complains about, but it makes sense. Get over it. And it was a great story, but it was like you said, a good intention. Like he's sitting there going, I don't know what these things are. I stabbed him and it did nothing, and it's all I know how to do.
Right, like the Lion had some inkling because Calibanite Forest had the Death World had warp spawn creatures, so he had an inkling that okay, this is not normal. This is weird.
And the Primarchs are pseudo warp things.
Yeah, they're all of them are warp
thanks
touched.
to Koroks.
Yeah, they're also they're all resonate with the warp because they're their father's sons.
Their origin and all that jazz.
So he had an inkling, but then when he says, and then the one thing about the Lion and the First Legion is they're practical. And it's just like, so you mean to tell me you can hurt them with their thing? If I let you go pew pew with your mind, it'll be good. Well, let's go pew pew with your mind then. And it's like,
it kind of reminds me of like one of the reasons why like you hate monster movies, because you're like, there's no way a creature could exist that we can't take down.
Well, yeah, it's just kind of like and the Lion's like so.
But
I could stab it a bunch, or you could just look at it and thought and break it. And it's like, fantastic.
But he was like, but when he saw that, he was like, stabbing it ain't working, and that should what gives.
Yeah, it's like what gives, and how do we kill it? That's how we kill it. Well, that's what we're doing to kill it. I'm gonna punch your head off because you don't want us to do it, and then we're gonna continue doing it. So, but like. So that was it. Caught them. My point. The point
Yeah,
of that
the point
tangent
is
it
they
caught them off guard.
they had no clue what chaos was at that point.
Yeah, no real idea.
Yep.
And
Like heck, this is how crazy it is like they were using warp travel and they were not aware of what was going on.
yeah, not fully.
Really.
Just that without the Geller field, it was a bad time. So it was. So you had
It's
that.
the closest they get to like some Eldar tech with the old ones. It's like it does what it does. Don't ask us how.
Exactly. And the whole idea of a insurrection specifically against their father from one of their brothers shocked them to their core.
Yep.
So that
And also another thing that always made me found really like what? And again, the end of the story kind of makes it think maybe it's all an act, but it's also like the casualness that Malkador just brings up the fact that 2 legions were wiped out.
yeah.
Because he's like, oh, we were playing them all this, and, those that weren't good enough, they never got to the end game. He's like, wait, whoa, you're like so casual about it. Like,
Right.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, that whole traumatic event happened. So the idea that they tried to stage a coup against their father is not the case. That could they have been chaos corrupted, but just never came out to the fore? Well, for the fans who want to make up their own legion and have them succumbed, fine. That's why it's open ended like this. But from what's implied, their failing had nothing to do with what happened with Horus and the whole heresy.
Yep. And we do also know, interesting enough, well, take it as you will because it did come from the comedy page, but supposedly there's a record of both legions fighting together.
Well, no, there is. It's in the Forge World Horus Heresy books. They were part of a particular campaign.
Yeah.
And that campaign was so dangerous and so costly, it almost was the end of the fledgling Imperium as we know. It was the Randan Xenocides. The 2nd and 11th Legions fought both in that force alongside the Dark Angels, the Spaceful, basically almost everybody.
Yeah.
And it's the way it's talked about, it's almost implied that a legion was killed off.
Yeah.
So there's that potential for a legion. There is the being
that could have
purged
also
for a reason.
That could also, like, I never read the Fulgrim book, but he could have also been mentioning how, when bad things happen, we lose a legion, kind of thing. Like, it could have also been just implying, we done all screwed up and it cost us all of that.
Exactly.
The 3 biggest things I'd say is your major possibilities is, they were wiped out in the campaign, lost in the warp, or they were executed, which, again, I guess maybe the Space Wolves would have done it, but then that's just giving the Space Wolves way too much influence over who lives and who dies in the Imperium than I think they just deserve or should have.
Well, yeah, and the thing with that is, forgetting my stance on the Space Wolves, the way in which they're set up is the idea of killing a Primarch and wiping out a legion is also hitherto unthinkable. Like when the drop site massacre happens, the entire Imperium was basically really like, oh my god, we just lost 3 legions in Primarch. What? It's just like,
and it was also like, whoa, a Primarch killed a Primarch.
Yeah, so I really doubt but the Space Wolves are the Emperor's executioners, basically the Emperor's heralds, right? So like in a way, like when the Emperor needs something done, he knows he can get Leman Russ to do it. Yep. And that doesn't mean that Leman Russ has taken the head of a Primarch. It just means he can take a tall swig of alcohol, look it in the eye and go, this is gonna suck, but I gotta do it, and goes and does it.
And also bringing off to that, I doubt the other Primarchs would look at him the same if he actually did carry out the murder of another Primarch.
Yeah,
because heck, the only reason they were cool with it with Magnus to a degree was because of why he was sent there, and he didn't actually kill Magnus. Magnus got away.
Exactly.
So I think people would if he did kill a Primarch, he would have been labeled, Kinslayer. No one would want to work with him. Like, at that point, when they showed up to help, when the Dark Angels were asked to help Russ, they probably would have pulled out the minute Russ showed up. Like, okay, goodbye. I don't think anyone would want to work with him if that were the case.
Yes, so we have the potential that one of the Lost Legions, either one of the two legions could have been destroyed in the Randan Crusades, which was such a heavy loss.
Yeah,
I mean, it was the most
and
terrible
plus,
war.
and I don't think all the legions were around at that point.
Yeah, and all the legions were around. The Primarchs.
Yeah, I mean, the Primarchs is what I meant.
But but what's specifically called out in the Randan Crusade is that whole expeditionary fleets died without a single survivor. Worlds were just destroyed. Dozens of Titan legions, full-blown Titan legions, destroyed, and by the end of it, entire Space Marine legions. Whether that's just numbers or at least a whole legion wiped out. Yeah. It was the costliest battle of the fledgling Imperium's life, and the most costliest battle of the entire Great Crusade. So, by the end of it, the 6th and 1st Legions, Space Wolves and Dark Angels, who also suffered greatly during this campaign, were given the task, entrusted above all others, to conduct the purging and do what had to be done to finally shut down the Randan sector of space. Now, if, let's say, one of the Lost Legions was corrupted by one of these xenomorphic forces, but knew this and they fought on to end it, it could have been left to both the Space Wolves and the Dark Angels to finish them off. So doing what had to be done could imply a lot. I'm not saying I necessarily believe that in this case, but it opens it up to not just be the Space Wolves. This is particularly the Space Wolves and the Dark Angels were the only two legions entrusted above all others, specifically call out to do this. So that can mean a lot. Yeah. Now you have that. The idea that, they had to be executed, which could tie into being destroyed.
Yep.
Lost in the war potential is always there.
Yep. But that's usually that's more of a cop-out than anything.
Usually. But if chaos corruption is not the thing, and if they had to have been cited for basically being excommunicated to the degree of getting the Black Scroll on their homeworld and being like, guess what, you guys are screwed, that implies a couple of things. Biological heresy and tech heresy also can be in there, right?
Yep.
Because if you do something that could jeopardize the Mechanicum's role in the Great Crusade, you have to be taken out. Likewise, people forget because of how casually Fabius Bile did it. Gene seed tampering was a huge taboo without all the correct written seals and approvals.
Like, if you read Angel's Exterminatus and everything, the Iron Warriors are like, do we have to work with them? They're kind of creepy now that they're because of what. And then when they see like Fabius Bile, it's like, could you not have him anywhere near me because I heard what he does?
Right.
So, they were not happy about that.
Right. So on the flip side, one of the things that is always brought up is a sense of tragedy whenever the Lost Legions are brought up in the story.
Yes.
It's always got a tragic ring to it, whether it's like we swore never to speak of them again or never speak of this again. They're lost and lost for a reason, and everybody's sad.
Sad face.
Yes. And we're always speaking of it as if they were taken out.
Yeah.
Well, what if at least one of them basically was like, okay, my legion is destroyed now. We are sealing a great evil. Never speak of us again. We're doing what the emperor,
It could also have been very much a we are sacrificing ourselves kind of deal, and they're like, no, don't, brother.
Like it's important to understand that being a Lost Legion and being expunged doesn't necessarily mean with this Edict of Obliteration, at least for one of them. It could be the case where it was a necessity and the Emperor understood this, and that Lost Primarch understood this, and their Legion undertook a great thing. Let's say the Randan genocide again. Let's say that instead of them being destroyed, that's what the official history is, let's say, quote unquote. But what if it was, okay, this is such a terrible region of space, we're going to do what needs to be done to seal everything off and basically be the permanent sentinels of this thing. The first and the sixth legion will assist in the setup for this and ensure that we do this successfully, don't get wiped out, and do what has to be done. And then it's like we were destroyed and never existed at all. It's like a voluntary failing, a sacrifice, as you mentioned, for the Emperor. That's not going to happen twice, though. So typically in a story, it's going to happen once, and it's not known whether or not the two legions went out at the same time. Some fluff indicates not so, and some fluff indicates by a certain point in the timeline both legions are gone, but they didn't both go at the same time. So let's address the first thing here, and that is which is the fact that the Primarchs are really the key here, because outside of being wiped out in a campaign, which is entirely possible, right? The Third Legion was really wiped out before ever going on campaign because of a big problem with their gene seed pool. Like it almost got wiped out, which is why they are so stuck on being perfectionists, and then why they're looking at the gene seed. So, Primarchs. What could a Primarch have done to damn an entire legion? So, tech heresy and biological heresy. Which one are you banking on?
That's a tough one. I can't really say. Really, I'm banking more on maybe possibly one of them was learning about something they really shouldn't have. Would be the only other thing I can think of was, one of them, in essence, questioning what it was he was doing and why he was doing it.
Right.
It's really hard to, think of, what could have been said or done to justify the level of expunging that they got.
Yeah, it is tough, and the implication is it was the Primarch's fault because the Legion was functioning as a Legion fine while this being a standard run-of-the-mill Legion. And we got to look at a few case examples. Sanguinus, a mutated Primarch, in all sense of the word, winged, awesome, but that's a mutation. Let's be honest. Magnus the Red, what isn't a mutation there? Is the real question, right? So we got cases of extreme mutation going on. One is very favorable, a winged angel. One eventually wasn't because, Zinch. But then we have Leman Russ, mutation by design. We don't know enough about Sanguinus to know if that was by design. The wings probably was. Probably wasn't like, I don't know how the wings got there. You know what I mean? Like that's a real big thing.
I'm actually more of the case. I like to think that it was an unintended mutation, but everyone was like, no, it has to be intentional because the Emperor wouldn't have made something that would have flawed itself like this.
I would think being the case of flight, I would say that was intentional. I would say the empathicness and therefore the blood curse side effect wasn't. The fact that he is a potential rage monster. It wasn't. Was the mutation that was unintentional. But I think the idea of being an angelic host and kind of quelling things into awe that, yes, and I think was a nice little irony of this is the imperial truth, but he's an angel. But we have Leman Russ, who is specifically called out as his gene structure was implanted with canine DNA to give him his space wolfiness. It's very much implied, right? So some mutations there. Then we have Conrad Kurz, the unhinged Primarch.
Evil Batman.
Angron, the angriest.
Most ever angry.
And tragic because we don't know how angry he would have been without the butcher's nails.
Yes.
Where he would have gone.
Yeah, all we know is him after he got nailed into his literal brain.
Exactly. So, but the fact is, we have those. Let's just limit it to 4 examples: Sanguinus, Magnus the Red, Conrad Kurz, and
Angron,
the angriest. They are permitted, right? Now, obviously, Sanguinus, with his little flaw, he keeps it a secret, right? And we get a little insight into that because he kind of rounds on Horus when Horus says, "Why don't you tell Father? He can fix it." And he goes, "I will not damn my legion." So there is implication for that.
There's implication that there's implication in that also. That could also, right there, may have been another reason, because he kind of implies he knows what would happen if Daddy finds out about the blood rage.
Exactly. So there is that. We also have...
which also explains why the Space Wolves were also freaking out about even Russ finding out.
Oh, yeah. No, it freaks... it's a very close-lipped thing. And then you have Magnus the Red and the flesh change there, and then which was a bit more known about, all things considered. In fact,
heck, Russ pretty much all but announced it at the council.
Well, that and the flesh change was to such a degree that those that were experiencing the earliest stages of it went into stasis, and by the time they linked up with the Primarch, more Thousand Sons were in stasis than were active.
Yep.
So it was a well-known thing, and it was a hope that Magnus's genes would help stabilize it.
Yes.
So that's an interesting case because you have that on the one hand, and then you have the little blood rage thing that Sandwich is so afraid of. What is the difference? Which is odd. Then you have Conrad Kurz, who was broken upon delivery, right? He's like, "I know who you are, Father. I know if you have planned for me. I am Conrad Kurz, the Night Haunter, and I am a crazy Batman." I
am crazy Batman, but don't tell Batman fans.
Yeah, and Angron flat out is like, "I hate you. You took me from my brethren. You didn't help me out. You helped out everybody else. You wouldn't help me out. Angron stands alone, and now I'm gonna make my entire legion go insane with the butcher's nails, and I'm not gonna stop." And it's just like I'm gonna be blatant about it. So
blatant.
Yes. So those are 4 Primarchs, and a real quick and dirty rundown of about what could have damned them in their legion. So now we look at the 2nd and the 11th, and if there is some type of gene seed instability, okay, right, broken upon delivery to like inserviceable. Instead of being a Primarch, it was a gigantic slug. Okay, that's not going to work. But I very much doubt that.
Yeah.
But what if we're looking at tampering, right? And I kind of unfairly broke up tech heresy and the bio heresy concept because you put them together and you get Primaris Space Marines.
This is true.
But my point about that is not calling that out because whatever, I'm fine with them. But what if we had one of the Lost Legions cranking that up to 11? Because one of the things about the Primaris is that they took some, they went even further beyond with the Space Marine stuff, and took one part of the equation of demi-godhood of the Primarchs and made it a thing for the Primaris.
Yeah.
Well, what if the Curse founding, the 21st founding, that concept was done by a Primarch going, "I know what makes me me, and I can make a legion of mini-me's," right? With that, and then of course failing, because if he succeeded and it was perfect, we would have probably still been around. But so you could have both the gene monstrosity flaw pop up because of this, that something that made Sanguinus very leery, and the whole tamper with the gene seed and with technology. Like, what if he went, "Hey, Father, check this out. I took what you did and I'm making it better. And oh yeah, all this little malarkey about the Omnissiah. Ooh, I just flip a switch. It's no big deal. It's gonna work fine." So it's just like, obviously, it wouldn't be written like that. But like,
"Hey, Dad, I just created Alexa, and I don't see any problem with this."
Right.
Heresy.
Yeah, what if he made? What if they made one of the Primarchs was about abominable machine intelligence. What if you had a Tony Stark as a Primarch? That would run counter to everything mechanical stood for.
Yep.
So there is that concept. The problem with this is that we do know nothing about the legions they commanded, right? If we had an idea that, man, Second Legion, we know nothing about them aside from the fact that they were really aggressive, that would imply something, right? Or the 11th Legion, man, you never saw them coming. That would imply something.
Yeah.
But we have 0 drops to imply for us to go on. And with the exception of it's the Primarch's fault their Legion fell. So, we have to look at the current, well, not the current surviving, the roster of Primarchs we know.
Yep.
Because Lorgar, right? Lorgar had a
Logar.
Yeah, he had a
He found religion and messed everything up.
Yes. But if there's a mutation amongst his force, it's their absolute dedication to him. Like,
Yep.
it was even brought up in the first Heretic that they can't disobey his orders. It's just something about it. Like, he was thinking about it. It's like, we just went into the warp without a question asked. We just did all this without even batting an eye. We never even thought to question our commander. And the guy was like, "That's weird," It's like, so, loyalty and servitude and stuff like that could have been one of his Legion's GC things. And the reason I bring that up is, well, what if that that's kind of the word bearers are the biggest ones of it.
Yep.
But the Blood Angels don't, they have that empathic link and they're so in awe of their Primarch, they would never want to disobey him or make him upset or do anything either. So you have something like that. So what if the second and 11th has something like that where they're like, oh, finally our Primarch, we're linked up with our Primarch, and our Primarch's like, hey guys, check out this sentient armor we're all gonna wear. They'll probably be like, okay. It's like,
or it could have been a complete opposite. There was such a dysfunction between the Legion and the Primarch.
There's that, and that brings us to another idea. And for that, we have to look at what the legions are and their Primarchs are. We got magic, all sorts of figured out with Magnus the Red, right?
Yep.
We got that. Now, could the second 11 have been a it's such a weird thing to say, a failed version of the 15th? Kind of weird to say considering what happened to them.
Yeah.
But
if the 15th was the success,
right? So maybe that's a stretch considering again if the 15th was a success. But
and then what was so bad that caused the others to be failures?
Right. But we also have tech aptitude in the form of the Iron Hands, the Iron Warriors, and some others. And we know that the Emperor, Psyker presence, a warp presence, a very lively presence for him, his Primarchs, the Custodian, everything like that. Well, what if, in his attempts to do something, he failed, right? Now, it's always... It's staring us in the face, right? Because the heresy happened. That's a failure.
Yeah.
You failed. But what if he tried for Pariah Legion and a
I was
Pariah
just about
Primarch?
to say that was what if it was Pariah trying to produce the Pariah gene
and
because the Sisters of Silence.
Yeah, because we see the Sisters, and what if the Sisters were an offshoot of this? What if he saw it was so difficult to produce that with obviously he knows his genes and everything, so to deal with the Sisters was a lot easier, or whatever the case is. But the reason why I'm saying this is we have a limited stuff in the fluff about Pariahness and the Emperor's gene stock, which is everything Space Marine and Custodes.
Yep.
And it just physically can't work together because he's so psychery.
Yep.
And everything based off of his design can't have a Pariah too. That's why we never had a Pariah special character Space Marine. It wouldn't work.
Yep.
What if the Legion didn't work?
Yeah, well, a good example is the Custodes in Masters of Mankind kind of bring a hint about how
what the Sisters of Silence see when they see the Emperor isn't exactly the same as what everyone else sees, possibly because of their pariah gene heritage.
Right.
What if maybe another possibility is he created a pariah gene Space Marine chapter and they couldn't handle the truth?
Well, exactly. Like, what if...
You know, the Jack Nicholson and up here, and the Emperor's like, you can't handle the truth.
No, it's true.
Or Melkador, because he's just an illusion he made.
That died.
Yes.
That's the big flaw in that theory. Is like he's just an illusion that he conjured up and then sat on the throne and withered away. And yeah, but
so they dragged out a corpse and put an illusion of an imaginary corpse on the golden throne.
Right. Yeah. So, but that's something. One of the things I constantly circle back to is the idea of a pariah's legion, because we've never seen it, and there's a reason we've never seen a pariah Space Marine thing. Now, I'm sure somebody could go and dig up something from Rogue Trader era when there was absolutely no actual formula for what Space Marines are and go, actually, there's a... Stop.
And actually, you go that far back, Gilliman's the traitor.
Yeah, you go that far back, and Lehman Russ is just a chapter master. So
and Lehman Russ killed the lion, and that's why the two chapters don't get along.
Yeah, and then he's just this chapter master. He's not even a Primarch.
Yeah.
And the mentors are a legion, but then... Anyway, so yeah, and it was a crazy time back then. But, so...
It was the weirdest of times. That
was back when the Thousand Sons were all mutated as crazy.
Yes.
Like, so it's a completely different legion. But, so what if we looking at pariahness, and what if, because the pariah is the anti of what the Emperor is, basically, and what his gene and his soul is. So you have literally a Primarch tearing itself apart spiritually, because it's created by the Emperor of the Emperor's genes to be a pariah. It's like a self-contradicting being. And now his legion, because it's so diluted at the gene level, maybe they can function a bit better, but maybe they've always been on the smaller side, you know? Like, the easiest way to kill off a legion is to have it always be small to begin with. So,
yeah,
this is a good way to keep a legion small. This would also perhaps explain the potential for tech heresy and bioheresy going on. Not that was the damnation, but that's what they had to resort to just to survive and make the pain go away, you know, like, so they could function. And maybe the Emperor turned a blind eye to it because they're so useful. When you think about it, how useful is Sisters of Silence? So useful. How useful is his Ordo-Sinister Warlord Titan Psyker-ness with pariah-ness? So useful. So would an Astartes Legion shock troop of this be so useful? I think it would. And if you're looking at that going, okay, well, they need special armor and they're constantly, you know, modifying their gene Z because I basically put them in a living hell is what I did. So, but what if once the Primarch was rediscovered, like you said, he saw the truth of it, or it just got to the point where it's what they thought would happen, which was like for every other legion, the Primarch genes help stabilize things. What if it accelerated the degradation?
Yeah.
So, and executing them was a thing of mercy, but a thing of mercy that they wouldn't just abide. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But they knew, like, it's kind of a case like, you know, the scorpion on the turtle or whatever, or the frog, I forget the name, like, you know, the scorpion, it's like, I won't sting you, I gotta get across the river. They go in the river, the scorpion stings them anyways. Why'd you do that? Because I'm a scorpion. Like, It's like, you're gonna give me the Emperor's peace, and I want it, but I'm gonna fight you, because that's what I am. It's like, so that could be fulfilling the role, but that explains one legion. So let's just assume, right? One of the two. I'm going to say the second because I think that's something he would have tried early and realized, whoa, boy, let's not do that. So if that's one legion's excuse, let's just say, what would be the other? Like, we have techness and techiness, and you could say the other legion is just pure Tony Stark in it. Like, look at my Iron Legion. That's a bunch of men of iron. Yeah, it's cool. No, it's not cool. It's like there's that. But with how that never comes up in anything, and how when they even talk about the Age of Darkness during the Heresy book series, it's done with like, legends say there was this, sentient robots. I doubt, and if a Legion did that, if let's say the 11th Primarch basically had his own like Ultron, I think they wouldn't say legends say. I think they say you go away with that idea. That's a terrible idea. So if we have one of the obvious things potentially of pariahness, what in 40 Kadum would we have as an idea for the 11th Legion outside of just, I don't want to go to school, Dad? Outside of, I don't want to fight in the crusade. Outside of the cop-out, just leave me alone. What would you say? Because pariah is a big one. And now, we might have to jump to the Xenos things. Like, is that big Baroque powered armor dude one of the Lost Legion Primarchs of Traz and the Infinite? Or is, what are we looking at here? What do you think?
It's tough. I do like the idea of them just being lost due to like battle or something. Heck, they could have been the Legion that made first contact with, say, the Eldar or the Orcs, and they're the reason why they started going, well, we got to deal. They could have been the reason the Alpha Legion was sent out to deal with the Orc infestation, was because the Lost Legion happened. Or how the Space Wolves were sent off to kill a craft world. It could have been because that was when they discovered the Eldar are a problem because they wiped out a legion. Tech heresy is one thing that I don't. That's one thing that doesn't come to mind, in my opinion, whenever I think what could have happened to them. More for the sense of, like, I can't think of anything that would make me think that initially being a cause of one of the problems. Right. But I'm more inclined to believe that that they were slaughtered by something rather than someone.
I mean, I could definitely see that. Like, one of the innumerable Xenos races purged to extinction could have been a direct result of, like, it could have pulled a Troy. It's like you killed or some of that you took from me. Now I'm going to wipe you out or whatever.
Yeah,
like something like that. What if they went beyond the Outer Rim
and ran into the Nids, and that's how the Nids got to us?
Well, there's that. They could have been wiped out by the Nids. But what if, like, but the whole idea of, like, not even just go. I don't mean that far out either. The Golden Throne's Ash Beacon only goes so far in the Milky Way galaxy. It doesn't span corner to corner.
No, it does not.
In fact, one of the whole theories of the space sharks, the Carcharodons, is that why their armor is the way it is and looks so similar to pre-Raven Guard color scheme-ness. Is that the Primarch sent dispatch, and it's in the fluff that the Primarch dispatched some of the more bloodthirsty of his forces to go and explore beyond the regions of space that we know.
Yeah.
He sent them away, basically. He wasn't going to kill them. He wasn't going to just imprison them. He did that as kind of punishment, and also like, hey, what's out there? We're Space Marine ninjas. We need to know this. So it's like...
Space Marine ninjas.
That's what the Raven Guard are.
They are.
So... And they're awesome because of that.
They are. I mean, they are cool enough for me to make a force of them.
I mean, just the idea that, like, and the Alpha Legion has their stealth core that can, like, move unseen. Yep. But the Raven Guard's like, that's cute. Well, that's all we do.
Alpha Legion is more hide in plain sight and get the intel, whereas the Raven Guard are explore the unknown.
Yeah, the Alpha Legion are spy versus spy, James Bond level of, do stuff. Special agent, hide, like you said, on play sight, do what you gotta do to do the things. Yeah. And the Raven Guard are like...
SEAL teams,
Yeah,
they're like... They go into enemy territory, but do not be seen.
Yeah, the Raven Guard are every cool ninja video game character, basically. What's that one? Oh, like the Shinobi series, basically. But so what if, though, one of the legions went and was like the 11th, let's just say, was created for that sense of being self-sustained to the point where it's like, this is cool and all, but we out, and just left, and it was just like, and what if that shame is what they're hiding by saying, yeah, they were purged.
Yeah.
For being jerks. I mean, for something else entirely. But
it wasn't for petty reasons, we swear.
Yes. Or again, because layers on layers of stuff, and if we're gonna think like GW fluff, which is never just the most obvious thing, what if they were sent out and then covered up like they were destroyed? You can't just like the only straightforward answer we've gotten recently in 40k is that you can make a Primarchs out of a standard Space Marine because Calgar's one. That's like that's the most straightforward answer we got honestly in years, and it's
basically
and it's refreshing. But anyway. So if we have the pariahness, perhaps, of a legion, and we have a legion that went beyond the Outer Rim to the south of the Rishi Maze,
what is that from?
Star Wars?
I don't remember that.
They're cloners, damn good ones too.
Oh, them, right? It's the prequels.
Yeah, the Kaminoans or whatever. It's like, is it in the system? It's like, no, Obi-Wan, he just said it's beyond the outer. We're not paying attention to what he said.
Oh no, it's beyond the Outer Rim. Yeah, though.
The first thing he says is, they're from beyond the Outer Rim. It's like, oh, I haven't heard of that. Is it nearby? He just told you it was beyond the Outer Rim. Somehow in the galactic south, which never made sense to me. In terms of compass coordinates in the galaxy. But anyway, my point is, so we went there.
Yes, we did, and we don't know how to get back.
No, we don't. Part of the Great Crusade is to conquer the galaxy.
Yep.
So what if they did perhaps go forth? Maybe
they could have been the vanguard.
Yeah, they could have been that vanguard to go forth and do things. And if you draw upon any comic book, video game, movie, whatever it is, in which you have a big exploration thing happen, what if they, that could have been how they were lost, quote unquote lost, or just gone beyond, they could, in theory, one of the reasons why I like the idea that they're lost but not lost in terms of being gone is at any point GW could just pull them out of a hat. Yeah, like here, surprise! They're here before the lion wakes up. Stop doing this to us, Dark Angel fans. But, it's like, complete with Primarch. Wait, what? But
Clark the Primarch.
Clark the Primarch. Hi, Clark. But like, okay, what would if that's the case, let's have some fun with this, because we had the pariahness who just wanted the pain to go away, which is why they eventually did whatever they did. Let's say for one of the legions, what would being explorers or being that vanguard of the vanguard is one thing. What the heck would they do? Like, we got tech guys, we got magic, we got counter magic in the form of the pariah, which
may or may not have existed.
Right? Ever. You could have counter magic in the form of Grey Knight / the Exorcists, right? They know how to do counter demon stuff. But what, are we gonna pull a Farsight Enclave and they're gonna have contact with Necrons and that's gonna change them? Is that like, what do we do here? Like, because every legion's got a gimmick. Yep. Being explorers is kind of a weak gimmick. So what do we like? What would they have? What would make okay, if we're gonna build this, what would make them particularly suited to pull that task over, let's say, the Dark Angels, who are very self-sufficient and always been on the edge to begin with, beyond everybody else, or the Raven Guard, who sent their own force out to do just this? What, as a legion, would you want to see in a Primarch for that?
That's tough to say.
Well, let's make it basic. Would he be a psyker?
I don't think he would be a psyker, but I guess the really best way I could probably put it out there is being very, for lack of a better term, Boy Scoutish, like always prepared for everything. So maybe if he was psychic, it manifested in his psychical intuition. And he was just always known wherever he went, he always happened to have been prepared for whatever he runs into. So let's just say, for argument's sakes, they're going into an unexplored area, and it's going to be, let's just say, for argument's sake, he discovered the orcs.
Right.
You know, it could have been something where he'd go, oh, you know, let's bring all this, and you know what? No, issue me more flamers. More flamers? Why? Just issue me more flamers. And then they get there and like, wow, these guys, the only best way to purge them is to burn them. How did you prepare for how did you know you were going to need more flamers? He's like, I'm always prepared for everything. And like, he could have been somewhere he gets these psychic inklings of, no, do this kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Like, that would be the closest thing I could think of, is just like a Primarch that is adaptable and able to, in a sense, maybe pseudo predict what he may need in a given situation.
Yeah, if he was a psyker, that would definitely be a good power to have. What if we went pariah? So what if the 11th Legion was, the Primarch was a navigator?
He could have been a portable navigator, like to establish another Astronomicon.
But I mean, like, you know, we have like every ship has the navigator, those navigator houses. Like, what if it was a legion of, you know, he was like the navigator, and then like that power kind of manifested to different degrees in his legion. This would be a very unstable, kind of semi-unhinged force at the same time when you think about it, because...
Well, look at regular navigators. They can't look at things most of the time.
With their third eye, they got to keep it always covered.
Yep. And a lot of them go blind after a while.
Yeah, so what, you know, like, what if we had, you know, so... I would say, if you know, and navigators navigate the warp. And if you're going to have somebody who's going to go beyond the stretches of some Astronomicon beacon or have it be super faint... What better navigator than a Primarch's power?
And on the off chance with that, it could have been that they were sent out to establish a second Astronomicon.
Yeah, it could have been like kind of like a you know, not so much a mini emperor, but what if like the whole Astronomicon thing that was his shtick? Yep. Which, if he was sent out beyond, right, and we're gonna put on some tinfoil hats, tinfoil shoes with tinfoil underwear,
so uncomfortable.
Yes, but it's required, right? Because the actual the primary Astronomicon beacon, of which we only have one, is failing.
Yes.
So if we have an Astronomicon specialized legion that left known space of the Imperium with a Primarch who's a navigator and knows all about that, what if they come back and fix it? No, obviously it's not going to happen because we're making all this stuff up. But like that would be that could tie in with current fluffydom, and it would be something that we've never seen before.
I would be more inclined to believe the idea that his purpose was to expand their travel capability,
right?
Because then you'd be able to sandwich yourself between 2 points.
Basically, pull a I don't know what War Machine called it when you had with your Warcaster with different nodes.
Yeah, the psychic nodes.
Yeah, something like that, but for the beacon. Establish a node.
Yeah, just go out, find an inhabitable planet, and establish a base, and part of your legion's function is going to be providing another locator beacon, so when people get lost, they have a 50-50 chance they'll be next to you, and then we can expand the Imperium out more, because there's only a finite number of resources in the Imperium. They were eventually going to need to expand further.
Right, and when you think about it, having 2 points means you can basically triangulate yourself where you are in relation to them.
Yep.
Just one massively, blindingly bright beacon. Yeah, okay. You know, how blind are you? Sort of blind? Okay, we're going the wrong way. Turn around. I'm getting blinder. Yeah. Okay, we're in the right direction. Like, that's basically what you got at the Astronomicon right now. So... if that was their intent, would the navigator, because we know the navigator mutation as it is, it's problematic. Would it have caused a problem, or do you think, you know?
I think it would be more of a. I think at that point it would have been they were expunged, so no one would go trying to find them, and risk a bunch of the Imperium getting lost in unknown space because they're like, we got to go find these people.
Right. And this kind of brings us a little bit full circle back to the Rangdan Xenocides. An extremely dangerous campaign. Not saying that's where they set up shop, because it's still within the Imperium, but an extremely dangerous campaign that the Emperor thinks in the long term, right? He's a very end game, end goal type of thinker. So here in this massively dangerous Xenocides, what better place to purge the pariah failed experimentation and give them a warrior's death and give them release, and have the 2nd and the 6th legions entrusted above all else to ensure what's done is done at the end of the genocide, aka make sure they are dead.
Yeah.
And at the same time, lose the other legion so they can go about their business of establishing that beacon outside further of range. Could we have just stumbled upon the true purpose of the Lost Legion?
Aliens.
Aliens. I'm not saying it was Necrons, but
Necrons.
But Necrons. Now, all things considered, the Necron Transient the Infinite does have a Baroque powered armored dude that everybody's like, it's a Primarch. What are your thoughts there?
I think they actually did come out and say it's not a Primarch.
I wouldn't have. I hope so, because
I'm fairly certain that sometime in like the Cadian, like during the fall of Cadia, I think it kept being brought up. Oh, he's going to release Vulcan. He's going to release Vulcan, and they came out and said no, he doesn't have a Primarch. Like, I think they did nip that one in the bud at one point during the fall of Cadia story arc.
Now, it's a large man in Baroque power armor.
Yep.
Describes an Astartes.
Yes.
Does he have a Lost Legionnaire?
Possibly. Like, that I would believe more than him having a Primarch.
It would have to be somebody of importance, because it's Baroque, is ornate, and, just a particular style of it.
It was definitely like a captain or or chapter master of some sort.
Now, it's in the Necron Codex. And I'm not saying that so it's like, so it's so clear, it's in the Necron Codex, it's got to be this. But, like, my point for saying that is, they don't have to, and it's such a minor detail, right, that they bring up. It's like a minor major detail. It's kind of like when you go into the Odin's treasure room, and it's like fake, or or whatever. It's like
everything is fake.
Yeah, minor major details. There. Yep. But so this is a minor major detail, and therefore requires no further description of it.
Yep.
But I just can't help but feel if it was a chapter we knew about or of importance enough to call it out as something that is established, it would have probably been described as in, like, not saying Ultramarine, but probably given some type of detail to go, maybe it's a Raven Guard, or maybe it's a White Scar, or whatever.
At least, like, maybe a color of his armor, in a light colored power armor. Oh, well, all these chapters have light colored power armor.
Right. But the fact that it's not even described as a Space Marine, it's described as a large man in Baroque power armor.
Or maybe it's an Iron Warrior. No, Thunder Warrior. Thunder Warrior. Maybe, right? But, like, the reason I bring that up is we have fuel for potential fire of it being a Lost Legionnaire. Because it's just not described as anything. Now, with that said, if you're a Pariah Primarch and you have a Pariah Legion, do you think maybe the coloration we see for the Ordo Sinister is perhaps what the coloration of that Legion would have been, which is like that weird green and black with patina? I've never actually seen these guys, so I can't say.
They're not actually shown. It's just described as having a green black with a verde gris.
That would be that I couldn't say for sure. I would say that maybe for them, it would probably be a color that would kind of represent like a void of, like maybe like a plain like gray, or maybe they wouldn't even paint their armor.
Just be like a steel color.
So it's just whatever the ceramite is before the paint going on, because like the world is bleak and the world is bereft of imagination, so why should we even try to stand out in this world, kind of thing.
Right, it's like a solid gray because
they're missing that one link that links them to the rest of the universe.
Yeah, they don't have a soul. So like, and when you're bereft of a soul or whatever, everything's bleak. Now, the reason I say this is because a lot of fan ones out there, all cool. Not saying you can't make whatever you want, but in looking at this, the reason I question this is because in order for a Lost Legion to fit in, it can't be a copy of something already, right? Which is why we can't have another Thousand Suns, because the Thousand Suns got that on lockdown. We have enough tech differences between the Iron Warriors, the Iron Hands, and the Salamanders that you really couldn't fit an Artificer Legion in there.
Yeah.
So, therefore, we're thinking, our out there idea is a Pariah and Navigator Legion.
Yep.
Pariah Gene Navigator Mutation Legion is so out there because it's the only things that really haven't been touched upon that could warrant purging or potential purging, because it's just like, man, they're really fast. Doesn't really warrant a purging. It's like, man, you see how fast he ran? No, that doesn't.
That boy's a running fool.
Exactly. And then with that, color livery, and they made it to be a established legion, not just a number. They would have a name, so there would be something. And being just very standard issue gray makes sense for them, but you wouldn't have like another blue or another black. I would think at this point, because we have established colors already, and we have colors that aren't. I mean, we had 2 white legions before they went Sons of Horus. We had the Luna Wolves and we had the White Scars, the most forgotten.
We have like 3 red ones. 4 red ones.
Well, to be fair, we only had 2 originally.
But we have 4 like red legions.
Yeah, especially at the Heresy, there's 4. But like at the beginning, there was 2. If we're looking at Loyalists, 2. But technically, we had 3 whites because the World Leaders had a majority white.
Yeah, they were white originally. We've
one
got
purple, but you're not going to have another purple because purple's purple. Like, you can't.
We don't have any oranges, really.
We don't, and I love.
We only have 1 yellow.
You have 1 yellow, and we're going to keep it that way. But because yellow is like a purple, right? You can't have a different shade of purple is red or pink, and different shade of yellow is red or orange. So it's like
we could let's see. We have 1 black.
We have 2 black.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting the Dark Angels were black originally.
Exactly.
So that means we only had 1 green.
Yeah, the Salamanders up until they became Sons of Horus, but again, the Salamanders were green.
Yep. Well, the Sons of Horus were like a weird green.
Sea green. They're like a sea green.
We've had a couple of blues.
Yeah, a couple of blues. We have
a gray blue.
Oh, we have 3 black. Excuse me, Raven Guard, Iron Hands, and Dark Angels.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about the Iron Hands.
I don't lump them in with black because the first thing I think of Iron Hands, I think Bionics, which are silver, and I don't think. But I know that's not their color. I just don't associate them with black.
Yep. And we got silver, which is the Iron Hands.
The Iron
Warriors. I always confuse those 2.
And the thing is, certain colors. And doing this, and this is all just a thought experiment, by the way, guys. Share your thoughts in the comments, obviously, but you're only going to have 1 purple legion. You can't do a second one because it'd be too simple.
They could possibly have had be one of the only multicolor chapters.
They could have been like a quartered or a halved. But my point is, you're only going to have 1 yellow. You could have an orange, and I love the color orange, so I'm all for that. But,
because also thinking about it, where did that idea come from?
Yeah, it's in the Codex Astartes. It could be a hold-off or the only thing that Guilliman kept as to honor their legacy.
Because, like the Dark Angels have it, and you're just like, where is this idea coming from? There's nothing in the original foundings that would make you go, you know what would be cool? Quarter color our armor. So that might have been one of the 2 Lodge Legions.
Yeah, at best you have livery for like personal heraldry is like a coat of arms thing, but that's a big stretch. And the closest thing we saw to a coat of arms becoming a color scheme is Black Templars, and that's not quartered. That's black with white shoulder band. So the reason I'm bringing up
almost all the quartered colors are second founding and beyond.
Oh, pretty much all of them are.
Yeah.
If in second founding, I'm trying to think if some of the original quarter that we've seen are I forget if Howling Griffins were second or not, but
I think they are.
And then the blue and white one I forget as well, but
isn't that an Ultramarine one?
Yeah, but I don't know if there was. I mean, there's so many who knows? But like they go back to like yellow and purple. I bring it up because you're not gonna have another one. You could have an orange. You could have. You couldn't really have a pink. I mean, you could, but we're just not gonna go there. I don't think the Emperor would have been like, it would invoke fear in the Great Crusade. Pink lilac. No, I don't think he's going to do that. And Iron Warriors are steel, an iron, a dirty, but you're not gonna have silver, another legion like that, right? Likewise, you're not gonna have gold because custodians are called the Golden Legion.
Yep.
So you're just not gonna do that. You could have a copper or a brass, with if you wanted to go that route, but like. It doesn't take much to lock a color down. In fact, it only takes one legion to do it.
Howling Griffins are the unknown founding.
Oh, right,
33rd millennium.
Of course they are. What is it? The Nova Marines are the other one?
The Nova Marines? Let's see. Nova Marines.
I think they're blue-white quartered. Man, I'm a nerd if I remember this because I only they're not a legion or a force I particularly cared about.
Let's see. Got it. There we go. Let's see. Pop them. Nova Marines.
Yeah, they're quartered. Oh my god, they're second founding.
They're second founding, and the successor chapters are Dark Sons and Angels of Fury. Their Primarch is Rebuti Gilliman.
Yes, man. Yeah.
Gilliman made a lot of children.
And interestingly enough, when you think about it, not the only, but the one of note as a renegade force is the Sons of Malice. They're quartered.
Yep, and they're no longer a thing, sadly.
Well, you still have a force that's black and white quartered.
Thankfully, thank you, Forge World, they still exist, kind of, sort of.
Well, I'm not talking about that fluff. Just say black and white quartered renegade force exists.
Yeah, that's what I mean by that, because for anyone who doesn't know, if you look up in the Fire Raptor, Fire Eagle section, one of them is a Sons of Malice one, but it's a unknown warband. So, thank you, Forge World. You make my choice of Chaos Force still relevant.
I mean, they're really cool, or they were. And my point of bringing them up is
their color scheme was cool. Their fluff was kind of lame.
Well, their fluff suffered from the fact that Malal came and went.
Well, but also the fact that they went chaos in the 13th Black Crusade, murdered themselves, and no longer exist. I was like, oh. Okay.
Well, that's dumb. But the fluff prior to that was basically
they were assigned to and they were assigned to look after the Eye of Terror.
They were one of the ones.
But that was their whole thing is after they were guarding. They were one of the chapters assigned to watch the Eye of Terror. They fell to chaos, joined up with Mala, and then then they genocided themselves to basically become one with Malice. And that's where they ended. And then the 13th Black Crusade was retconned, and they were retconned out of there because of lawsuits that never happened, but they were afraid of. And when I read that, I was like, well, this is kind of anticlimactic.
Yes, I mean, the Sons of Malice still technically exist. But as far as whatever goes on fluff-wise is a different story at this point because their fluff was all over the place and suffered from a lot of just like, this is cool, no it's not, change it again. And it's like, oh my god, but they're a cool force.
Yes, GW, just bring them back. Just get rid of, call them, the Sons of Malice still, and just get rid of the Chaos God if you really need to.
Or just say they worship chaos.
Yeah, they make them a Chaos Undivided. Or better yet, make them a Be'lakor Legion. Since Be'lakor was Malice's replacement technically in Age of Sigmar.
Oh yeah, but the thing about Malal and what they represented, and this is what they represented when they got away from Malal, is Malal was anarchy, was the actual embodiment of the word chaos and anarchy.
Yep.
And what the Sons of Malice was the embodiment of chaos, not the chaos gods, but chaos and anarchy. That's all they have to say is they're a renegade chapter that fights everything because they fought against chaos as well as the Imperium in equal measure because it's just like, we got to bring a little anarchy to this parade. And that's all they got to do.
And like I said, you can easily just start, if you need to have if you need to have a driving force behind them, you can just associate them with Be'lakor, since they did it in Warhammer Fantasy where they just replaced Mala with Be'lakor, and they could just do the same thing here. It's not like he's not already in the universe. So it's not a stretch that he would have an Astartes chapter that he tricked into following him.
Yeah, that or just grow a pair and say they follow an entity known only as Malice.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
Just because they changed the name to Malice, from Malal, so they literally changed the name to avoid copyright. So what's the problem?
Yeah, I mean, the word malice is fine. They follow an entity known as malice. Boom, done.
Yeah.
But anyway, as far as renegade forces go, they're like the only well-known corded chaos force.
Yep, and they were an unknown founding, I believe.
Yeah, we don't really know when they were founded or anything about them. Really, who they were successors of or anything like that.
They are. Yep, everything is unknown about them.
Yeah,
even their war cry is unknown because they talk in silence.
Yeah, because they only talk to each other in their Vox girls and they're cannibals.
Yep. They were the Carcaragons before they were a thing.
Well, yeah, in terms of being silent like that. But my point is, are there other Chaos warbands that are corded? More than likely. Can I name any aside from Sons of Malice? Nope. No. But can you name? We got Howling Griffins. We got the Nova Marines. There's others that I don't remember the name of because I don't care about corded color schemes personally. But we know it to be a Space Marine thing. So this, and having it be that could be a throwback of Gulliman to go, I'm going to honor my brothers somehow. Remember, Gulliman had seats at his table on Macragge for his 2 lost legions.
Yep.
They just had simple white tapestry thrown over it. But he said we must remember them. So this is a way you could have remembered them, was putting the cord in there. So they could be quartered. But when you go quartered, then you can do whatever color. But if they are singular color, or if they're like the Taurens, or the other ones which have the black lower half of their legs and like black arms and then like the rest is another color.
Yeah.
You could go wherever you want with that. But if you're going to be a singular color like every other Legion, you can't touch metallics really because Iron Warriors, unless you're doing like a brass or a bronze.
Yep.
You can't touch gold, obviously.
Yep.
You can't touch yellow, red, purple, blue. So you're looking like, what would you do with that? Like orange, like you mentioned, has been touched, and I love orange. That's why I'm working on Orange Force, right? But what I don't even know what other color you could pick because me and artistic stuff and a color wheel don't work. So I'm just like you can't do red, blue, green, yellow, or white. I don't know what else you got, but brown. You could do a brown. There is no actual brown.
No.
Really ever actually. So you have a lot to work with, and that's part of the fun of, and all of this really shows why the Lost Legions are left open-ended like this, because we just went on a whole tirade and a whole rant and had a lot of fun. Hopefully, thinking about what the heck could their specialties have been to warrant the potential Edict of Obliteration, and whether or not it's done as a cover-up, like the BPRD doesn't exist, but type of cover-up, or if it's done as or MIB style cover-up, or if it's done as a let's never speak of this again type of cover-up. This was horrible. Like watching Elektra. Ooh. Shots have been fired. It's not known. We just know that they're Purge, Edict of Obliteration, for good, for ill. What we know, loyalist Primarchs always look at it with sorrow. And then Rogel Dorn even said during the Horus Heresy, it's like, were that we had two, I forget the numbers he used, but it's like, before they knew it was half and half. Mm-hmm. So you had 18, we knew 4, so it was, I forget. But I can't, because I'm trying to remember when he said this. But he's like, would that we had 2 more numbers, basically. And he's like, and Malgador is like, easy boy, but they're gone for a reason. But that implication it sets up the idea that chaos corruption to siding with Horus was never even a consideration for these guys.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So because they were purged way before that, and even if they weren't, they probably would have sided with the Emperor anyway. Yes. So it makes you wonder why.
Or at least one of them would have.
Yeah, at least. And the reason why there's 2 is so you can have fans on both sides go, I got a Legion. But
so you can do them as either Chaos or Imperial. You can do whatever you want with those.
But like as we mentioned, you really have to kind of dig deep in the hat. Yep. Because we got the likes of Conrad Kurz and Angron and Magnus the Red and Sanguinus, even Lee Munruss. Vulcan Vulcan's really weird once you realize he has the perpetual gene. But the point is, you have the cast of characters you have, and this is why, by the way, and this was brought up in my Primarch Purpose Gulliman video. You automatically people attach the Mary Sooners to things like Gulliman or Rogel Dorn because they're just normal. They just follow the Emperor, they're loyal, and they have no crazy earth-shattering character flaw, which is okay. But people are like, no, there's got to be a flaw. This is 40K. So not everybody's flawed or crazy. I mean, and, Korax has that crazy ability to go invisible to, like, all but the most sensitive of all specs.
And apparently this new demon thing I've been hearing about.
Yeah, we don't...
I just recently heard about this, like, pseudo-demon prince form that he apparently taps into or something.
He's God of War, he goes in this chaos form, it's just whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not God of War, and then he also, like, Darksiders going into your chaos form. It happens. Yeah. But my point is, you have this craziness going on, but allowed. And then what muddies the waters is the more they want to cash in on this cash cow, including like we're at the Siege of Terror, only 8 more books to go until we decide there's only 8 more books to go after that. But when you expand, like I said, we're on rails. There's a formula it has to abide by.
Yeah.
Because not just because the lore says so, because the game says so. Like, you can't just go and suddenly the Thousand Sons had to change a heart and they're loyal because, well, we have a Chaos Thousand Sons book. This is impossible. We can't do that. It's not going to happen. So, so they have to sit on rails, and the more you muddy the waters with interesting stuff like the Night of the Wolf and all this jazz, the more it muddies everything else. So the Lost Legions, the closest we've got was actually Forgel talking about the Randan Xenocides and the fact they might have lost one. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. We have the Emperor's Executioners and the First Legion, which, by the way, people have to remember, Leman Russ is the Emperor's Executioner, but the First Legion is trusted with the most independence and with all the old archaeotech.
Yep.
So the two of them together are perfect choices for the Emperor to go, listen, guys, this sector of space, nothing gets out. We're done here. We're moving on. You two guys take care of everything. If it so much as look at you weird, burn it. It's like, and they're the ones to abide by it. In fact, the two commanders on the Imperial side, by the way, the defending commanders were the Emperor and the Lion.
Mm-hmm.
Food for thought, people. Anyways, but obviously the other Primarchs were there, but those are the two in overarching command. Unless the 2nd and the 11th were also in command for reasons such as, well, we're facing a terrible Xenos threat that's a soul devourer. We don't have souls, Father. We got this. And then It's like, we're going to go beyond the Outer Rim from here, guys. We're going to use this as a staging point, cover our trails. We never existed, but we did. So we're purged now, and we're going to go establish something is where we're at. So any other potential last minute, like, ooh, maybe, if it's not this... If it's not those two things, like, would you say, it's Infinity Stones? Obviously not, but like...
I honestly cannot think of really anything that would make more sense.
Me either. The only thing, and I very much doubt this, even though the Emperor did... The weird thing with the Primarch Project, right, is the Emperor did a lot of traveling before the Great Crusade, which was weird. Like, he was able to, like, bamf with other Perpetuals to, like, a planet where he got the ideas for the Primarch... It's confusing. But...
Very...
My point is, the only other thing that could potentially make sense, and I very much doubt it because of how human-centric the Emperor is if he spliced sentient Xenos DNA in there.
Possibly.
If he took, like, ancient Eldar stuff, Orc stuff even. I don't even know how you get Necron DNA structure. Maybe he saw like a Necron computer with like the terminals of how that's structured, and he modified base RNA and DNA of humans to that or whatever. But unless he took Xenos DNA from one of the two Lost Legions to do something, and that resulted in a Thanos or something, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like something truly out there, like that just wouldn't work. And while it's probable, I find it high unlikely with how for humanity he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he would... I mean, taking lupine stuff for, like, enhanced senses, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. Doing whatever he did to make Magnus, I guess made sense. So
It sounded good at the time.
yeah, but I just don't think, unless that's why the Eldar have this kind of love-hate relationship with humans. It's because maybe they struck a bargain. Maybe the Emperor came to bargain for something, and that's where one of those lost legions, and maybe the Eldar were like, oh crap, that was a horrible thing because they're purging us, and or whatever, and like we gotta stop this. Again, I doubt it, because you wouldn't at one point go, unless he forcibly got DNA, which is entirely possible, right? Because he's the Emperor. He'd be like, you come here, and you would. That's how it works. But I don't know. That's the only other thing I could consider. But like you, I don't really know what else. And it took us some time to reach. Well, Pariah, obviously, we all had Pariah in our head, but the Navigator.
Yeah,
mutation.
that was one that took a little bit of.
Yeah, because it's just like
diving in.
Where do we go from here? But like,
wait, go.
Yeah.
Navigators go.
Yeah. They go places and do things. Because I don't think a what do you call the living radios?
The living
astropaths.
The astropaths.
Astropaths don't make sense, because that's what you have. Librarians are astropaths.
Yeah.
So it's like
they can function as astropaths.
Yeah. So I don't think that truly would do it. But and then from there, and even perhaps as Zeno's saying, you could branch into technological, modifications to the point where the Mechanicum's like, I'm not comfortable with this. But it's just, we're approaching places that we shouldn't go. But yeah, who knows? So, what are your closing thoughts on the Lost Legions? Like, what do you think we'll see, if anything? B, what if you could make GW do something, not so much give us names, locations, phone numbers of the Lost Legion, but like, what's the one Lost Legion thing you'd like to see happen?
Well, first thing I'd like to say based on the Lost Legions is we're going to have to come to a point that we have to agree, we have to just accept that nothing we hear, see, or read will probably ever become any kind of truth. So everything is true until everything is true and everything isn't. What I would like to get out of them is a clear cut, like, not like a exact specification, but I would like to know if either both legions were officially, when they say they were lost, was it they were purged or was it they were lost?
Fair enough. And like you said, nothing is true, yet everything is true until something else is said.
Yep.
With that, the problem I have with that is that it's true. And what I mean by that is, GW is notorious for not bringing up stuff for years of established fluff edition wise, right?
Yeah, and then they just decide to go, oh, let's add something new.
Yeah, or it's like, oh, like the Lion is a perfect example. Originally, center of the rock sleeping. Then nothing was brought up since, so people thought, oh, they just retcon that away. Then it was brought up again. Then it was not brought up again in the very next edition. It's like, but we know it still holds true.
Also, they changed the wording between two codexes.
Yes.
In the 6th Ed Codex, it was, he's in the belly of the rock waiting. Yes. Then they changed it to he's sleeping. It was like, wait, before he was waiting, now he's sleeping. Did he wake up and go back to sleep? What happened here?
Right. So, like, and they deliberately also will describe things differently between two rival books. But, like, so it's hard for us to see, like, because we can go back and look at every writing, every mentioning of the Lost Legions.
Yep.
And you could put it all down in order in chronological order, when the oldest stuff to the newest stuff, and we don't necessarily know what retcon what out of existence, if anything.
Yep.
So that's hard to understand. But so I fully and in agreement with you. We don't know what we know or what we don't know for sure about them.
Yep.
Aside from the fact that we're probably never going to get anything. They're lost.
That's the only thing we know for sure.
We also don't know what type of legacy was left by them. Potentially the coded color scheme, Maybe the whole
Yep.
Primaris Space Marine idea came from seeing what they were about and what they did. Maybe Gulliman went with Carl and went, look, they were on the right path but the wrong way. Let's
do it the right way.
And that's where we got Primaris, because is that the case? Most likely not. I'm just saying we don't know where their influences lie.
Yes.
If and you have to imagine they obviously they made an impression on their brothers. There has to be some sort of influence somewhere of their presence.
Yeah.
Even though we know nothing about them. What I would love to see to that effect, though, I don't want answers. If they want to keep us without answers, that's fine. I would love a agent, some type of not so much a straight up novel, but I guess the best way to do it is as a novel. Like almost like like the Imperial Knights Compendium book. It's just like a fluff book that shows you the livery and does stuff like that. But it's not a novel, but it's not a codex.
Yeah,
and it doesn't have rules in it. It's just a compendium. I would like a high level High Lord or a Custodes write up or something where it's done kind of CIA, blacked out all critical stuff that is direct stuff.
Kind of like the Caiaphas Cain books.
Kind of like that for the two Lost Legions. I would love that to just be a nice little tidy, even not that long. Could be 30 pages at most, right? Or whatever, or with little fluffer's in there and out there of the character, compiling all this together. You could be compiling the Tome of Obliteration of the Lost Legions or whatever, and so you can have a little fluff story of the guy compiling it, the agent, whatever is compiling it, but just giving us some concrete nothingness is the best way I can put it, because we know nothing about the Legion, and it doesn't mean that that's true, anything they say, but just to compile, kind of like what you said, they're lost or destroyed or
Yeah, like they don't have to go into massive detail, but I'd like to understand if they were like just slaughtered, because then it'd be like, ooh, like then that, you're giving me a little bit of information, but still not telling me enough. So there's still that, oh, well, maybe they were slaughtered by Xenos. Maybe they were slaughtered. Maybe it's true and the Space Wolves killed them off, just a little tidbit. And then...
Yeah.
And going off of that, like, oh, they were lost. Oh, maybe they did go off exploring or something like that.
Yeah, like if they could just compile what they feel is still relevant of what all the mentionings they have into one book, into one little, not even book, just one pamphlet. Just compile everything to a PDF document for them or something. I don't care. Just to go like, all this stuff is what's currently accepted as being fluffable for the Lost Legions. That would be great, because if I'm looking at something that's a decade old or more and that is no longer relevant, and that's what people are using to help their basis on, it would suck to realize, that's no longer canon or fluffy because it was retconned by this. But at the same time, it would be a good knowledge and help point in that direction, a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, if they don't want, more to the point, if they were lost or slaughtered or destroyed doesn't mean 100% wiped out either.
Yeah.
Because you want to make sure, okay, if they're destroyed, but I still want to play the remnants of that Lost Legion in 40K. Fine, great. They were, if as a fighting force, they are destroyed, but as a
and they
Legion,
lost their Primarch.
And as a Legion, they still exist. Or their Primarch is just in stasis.
Yeah.
Whatever. As the typical answer, he's sleeping. But he's had a long day. He's got to go to bed. But just something to the point where like you said, steer us in that direction. Were they wiped out? You don't have to say destroyed to a man. Much like the Lamenters were like fear destroyed or nearly destroyed. They could put nearly destroyed.
Or the Imperial Fists for the 20th time.
Or if they want to pull some more kind of realistic terminology, they could put rendered combat ineffective.
Yeah.
That means they were more or less wiped out, but they're still around.
Yep.
They could do that, and if they're lost, they could say beyond the borders of the Imperium or something, or whatever. Just something so people can go, not just for colors and name, but for conversions, basing, stuff like that. Because if they're explorers, you might make their armor look a little bit more ragtag, a little bit more cinched up and converted, and because they obviously not getting fresh supplies, so they have to constantly convert and work with what they got. If they were nearly wiped out, you could have a lot of them looking injured or with bullet holes and whatever, and just fighting that way or something and then adding trophies or whatever. So there's lots you can do. But yes, this is where I guess I turn it over to the viewers who are still watching. Congratulations. You are not one of the lost legions.
Yet.
But what are your thoughts from color to specialty? As every legion has a specialty, and that's And while it is supposedly a Primarchs, whether it's just happenstance that the Primarchs were found and then they were declared lost, it could just be pure coincidence.
Yeah.
Right. We're assuming a lot when we say, well, they found Primarch Joe and Joe just screwed it up for everybody. But it's like, so we,
freaking Joe.
Yeah, it's always the jerk. And it's like,
God.
Yeah, so if only we never found him, it would be fine. But so we're making a lot of assumptions there. But what are your thoughts? Every legion's got a specialty. Every Primarch has got specialties that are above and beyond what the legion can do. Mm-hmm. So what you got? What you think? Share in the comment section below. Any other parting words of wisdom?
No, I can't think of anything. I think we've said all that we could say about it.
Yes, we have. So never speak of this again, anybody. They'll purge for but who knows? There are 18 known Primarchs to rant on if necessary, and I can guarantee you the moment we get information on the first, we'll be back.
Yep.
When I say information on the first, I mean Ford World.
Yes.
Ford World's Horus Heresy
soon.
Series.
It's coming soon.
Maybe. I mean,
they're dragging out Sanguinius coming out, but soon.
Yeah, Sanguinius and the White Scars, which just a random tangent, because the White Scars are the most forgettable legion, not because they're boring or bad, but because everybody forgets about them. Because they have a weird acquired taste stemming from their Genghis Khan influence and stylistics that way, and the fact that the white armor with red accent. You really gotta like that. The paint and everything. But I'm glad they are not the last one to come up.
Yeah.
I would feel really bad if they were. But being a Dark Angel fan, I'm like, come on. But
we all knew that they were going to do this so they can make the joke, First Legion, but last of the party. Hor.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want the book. Primarch model and special unit models can come after. I just want the book so I can read up on it. But whenever that happens, and of course with the other legions, we'll be back here. This is a 40K, 30K RambleCast central thing, so you could hear some more of that and maybe other stuff to come as well. Necrons are cool, but
sometimes.
Sometimes, they're cool and they should never get their body possessed. What were you thinking?
I just told them something that I learned recently, and you probably are already aware of what we're talking about.
The thing is, I thought that was fake. I thought that, I'm like, man, that sounds like bad fanfic. That can't be real. But you said it was real, and that made me sad. But anyway, I'm not even going to bring up what it is.
Yep.
So